Episode 7.
Episode 7.
Remember when we were on episode 1?
Yeah.
It was 6 episodes ago.
It was 6 episodes ago. Yeah.
So here we are, episode 7.
Did you think we would get this far? Or did you think
Yes, of course I did.
Yeah?
Because when we do something, we kick butt. That's why.
Yeah. We also wear matching shoes whenever we do it.
They're not 100% matching, but they are definitely, hey, I like the red. We're going with the Unafraid logos.
Mine are cool, though, because they have the black stripe.
I do like that.
Yours have the red. Mine are obviously cooler.
Mine have checkerboard.
Mine still, because they have black. Like, you can't beat it. Black is...
And that was episode 7. So
we're done.
We're done. So what do we got today? Kind of not really it's kind of a depressing subject, but a very real subject.
It's depressing. It's real.
It actually sucks.
People need to, in my opinion, become more aware of it because people don't understand what's going on in the world because we're too consumed with like the fake shit that people are watching on the news or just whatever. There's a lot of things that aren't covered that need to be covered. And so, I mean, I don't know. I just felt compelled to discuss this today.
How did we come up? I mean, I obviously know how we came up with this topic, but do you want to tell the viewers why?
So we're kind of like in the works of basically trying to get to a point where we can, how would you say this?
Effectively help?
Effectively help, yeah. Team guys and their spouses, just because that community is suffering so badly. And honestly, I mean, I'm shocked. Like, I don't really know the extent, or I haven't ever really known the extent until we were on our trip. What, like a week ago? 2 weeks ago?
About a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. I think 2 weeks ago.
And you got a phone call.
Yeah, I got a phone call that a guy committed suicide, and then a week before that, another guy passed away. And this is just dealing with the SEAL community. There's this issue across the board, and a lot of military, pretty much the whole military community. But it does, I believe, and some guys may disagree with this, affect people a little bit differently. But I think guys that are engaged in combat a lot see a lot of things, do a lot of certain things that deal with death, have buddies pass away. And I speak from this, obviously from experience, but you know, you get led to certain addictions like alcohol, pills, other things, to suppress the pain that, of the realism of it all. And I guess like, you know, just with all the, I mean, God, we had 2 decades of war. With a lot of stuff going on. And, you know, now that stuff's like building up and people have to get out of the military and they don't know what to do.
They don't know how to effectively do that.
They do not know how to effectively do it.
Yeah.
And I empathize with that 100%.
But also there's the resources, like they're there, but like they aren't there. And so we've kind of made some connections over the past couple months, and we've had some conversations with some people that share the same concern, I guess, that we do. And it's, I don't know, it's like a hard topic kind of to talk about because it's really scary. And for me, I feel like I don't know, I started listening to more podcasts of team guys. And I mean, because I've got yours all day long and I live with you and I know your story. But I kind of started branching out, like after I had a conversation with this specific individual who was kind of wanting to reach out to the wives. She had mentioned to me, you know, hey, why don't you give this a listen and give this a listen? Because I can understand a certain amount of it, but I still lack understanding about quite a bit of it, if I'm being blatantly honest. And so in listening to these guys' stories, because you're extremely transparent, but I've learned that there are very few others that are also as transparent.
There's not a lot of them.
Surprisingly. Yeah. I mean, I was very surprised the last couple that I listened to, and I was like, holy crap. Like, I felt like I was listening to your podcast for the first time. It was just someone different. And these men all have families. They all have children. It's a different perspective because their wives were with them the entire time, like through their deployments and all kinds of things. And It's a different perspective. So I'm thankful that I am able to listen to that perspective and kind of like that kind of fills me a little bit. So I can see it, you know, like I'm a very visual person. So I can kind of like paint that picture in my head, and it's not a pretty picture. So I think me, like, big time, this has become like a passion of mine. Okay. So the organizations that are there for the men when they're getting out, there's 120 organizations, give or take a few.
It's a lot.
To help, right? So it's like, hey, you want resources? We're here. There's 120 of us out there, you know, find us. Like I guess they place you in, I mean, I don't know what happens like when you're getting ready to retire. I mean, are you given these resources, or what does that look like?
Well, I didn't retire out of I was in the SEAL community, but I was retired at like a normal, cause I was doing the coordinator position. So I wasn't like out at, my last unit or anything like that. But they give you resources. So the resources that the SEAL community gets and the resources that and I'm not trying to be that the Navy gets are two different things.
Yeah.
Because we need different stuff. Everyone,
right.
we need way different stuff because we're way more jacked up, in my opinion, just from the nature of the beast of the job. So I didn't get any of that stuff, and they might have told me, but I didn't listen, or I didn't get it.
Yeah.
Or which is probably more common, is I didn't think I needed it.
Right.
That's probably the truth.
Yeah. Well, because your pride, I mean, you just pretty much conquered the world.
Well, you don't know. And also you're right about the pride, but you also, you don't know what you don't know.
Well, because I think when you're in, and correct me if I'm wrong, all of that is normalized. It's shoved away, normal. And then no one talks about certain things because they don't want to be seen as weak. You're supposed to suffer in silence. That is so hard for me to say. Like, it makes me want to tear up.
Yeah, it's sad. It makes me want to tear up as well, like just talking about it, because obviously I know my story and what happened back then, and then where I am now. Two different dudes, two different lives, two different mindsets, two different way I see it.
Why am I tearing up?
It's all right. Do you need a tissue?
No.
But those guys are like, honestly, they're lost souls. They have no clue. And I feel for them because they honestly don't. And I'm not sticking up for bad decisions.
Sad.
We know bad choices are bad choices, period. But it is normalized because everyone's doing it pretty much. Everyone's boozing it up, popping the pills, suppressing it, getting submerged in work, doing this extracurricular activity or whatever it may be, just to occupy their minds so they don't have to feel about all the other things that they did, they've seen, they smelled, they heard. It's a nut kicker. It's a freaking nut kicker for sure. And no one listening will understand it because you haven't been through it. Just like I will never understand what it's like to be immersed in tons of drugs, like narcotics or whatever, because I've never been like a big abuser of narcotics. So I've never been to the bottom of the barrel, or like they had to jumpstart my heart to freaking come back alive. I will not understand that. Let's
just take it personally. You'll never understand my level of anxiety.
Exactly.
I will never understand your level of trauma.
That's perfect. Thank you. That's perfect. Good job. That was good. So yeah, you're right. I would never understand that. I can try to empathize and try to comprehend it, but if you haven't done that job, you're never going to understand it. And that kind of sucks because it's hard to get help. So you kind of need to go to the same people for help, which you just need to find the ones that have kind of like got out of that phase. And unfortunately, I don't think there's a lot of them.
Yeah, it didn't sound like it.
I don't think there's a lot of them at all.
Yeah.
At all.
Well, I mean, in this individual that I've been in contact with multiple times, she is amazing. She's been through a lot, you know, her and her family have been through a lot. And so there are definitely people that I look up to, and it's a big thing. I mean, I'm so glad she wanted to start doing this for the wives. So let me get back to the organizations. Mm-hmm. There's 120 organizations for men. Guess how many there are for women?
0.
There's 3.
3? I'm surprised there's that many.
There's 3. So there's 120 that I would say, 10% of guys are actually taking, like, you know, and then there's 3. And then you've got masses and masses of women who need help because here's what's happened is their husbands they're living their dream job. They're living the freaking dream. Like, as you've said it yourself, rock star status, you are top of the top, right? Like cream of the crop. Wives are at home holding it down.
At least we think so.
You think so? Wives are at home holding it down, doing just as hard of a job, just in a different way. They're raising these kids. They're doing all these things. And also they're putting their careers on hold because they have to hold down the fort. They have to step up, you know, and they have to put their stuff aside. These women are strong women who have degrees. They have tons of knowledge that they could be doing so many different things with, but yet they're like, no, you know, my job right now is to hold down the fort for my husband. And then they have this idea, this really awesome idea that as soon as my husband's out, everything will be great. It'll be good. I just need him to retire. I just need him to get out. We're good. We can go to the beach. We can go on vacations. He's going to be home with the kids. We can all go on family vacations. Is that what it looks like?
It gets worse.
It gets 10 times worse. And so what happens with the women specifically, and I speak on, I'm not trying to take away from or minimize what the guys
absolutely
deal
not.
with.
Can I interject on that
Yeah.
real quick? So I'm about to kind of buffer that.
Yep.
Okay, so there's 120 for service members that are for the SEALs, right?
Yep.
And there's 3 for the wives. And a lot of people are thinking, and I would think the same thing, is they're the ones that went in there, they went overseas, they were in combat, they saw this. Okay, that's great. But when you get back to the home, it's which should be God. And then you got husband and wife. If husband and wife are on the same level, like if one's doing something else or is good to go and the other one's not, it's gonna falter. It's gonna become a toxic relationship. The house is gonna become toxic. It's gonna filter down to the children, and it's gonna be just like the stats for inner city kids that are fatherless homes. And what's divorce rate for SEALs?
90%.
90%. So the wives need to know it. They need to have the tools to help their husbands because we need it. Guys will not admit that majority of the time because they're prideful. And I was there too. And I get that, but I was also completely wrong. They need to have that support system. They need to have that support system, just like I need to support you. It's like if we have a tennis team, right? Doubles tennis, one's good, one's not good. Do you think you're going to do that good in a tournament? Yeah. No, you need both people ready to go, working together and destroying people as you go. And I can't believe I use tennis as I could think of like tons of other sports, but I use tennis for some reason. But the point is, they both got to be good to go. They both need to be equipped.
Yeah.
They both need to have the armor on. They both need to have the swords in hand to destroy any obstacle in their way. All right. So I'm going to digress now, but I had to throw that out there because I wanted to say that because I think it is extremely important because I guess I'm not done because one thing that I've learned is as you know, you're going through the military life, going overseas, going into combat and taking it to the enemy. Like a lot of wounds happen, most of them on the inside. And there's only there's only one place that I could be vulnerable, and that's with my significant other. I couldn't be vulnerable with other teammates because we had a job to do, my image, you know what I mean? So it's you. You're the one that I go to be like, hey, like, this hurt my feelings, or I'm kind of depressed about this, or this is really bothering me. I won't go to my teammate when I was at the time. I wouldn't do it. So if I'm not getting certain level of comfort and understanding from you in my actions, which aren't always great actions, but still give you kind of clarity of why is why, or why this is happening, then I'm lost. Like I'm lost. Like I need that from you 100% of the time. There's that thing that goes around, I always see it on media, a strong man is only as good enough as the strong woman or something like that. And that's so freaking true. I need your strength. I need it. I need it. I want it and I need it. Mm-hmm. Okay. So sorry. I had to.
So yeah. And so for women and these wives to be that strength, they need resources too.
100%.
And, you know, guys coming home that aren't going to go to their teammates and talk about their issues, their wives, I would guess they have a lot of resentment. I would guess that they're not met with the man that they once knew in some instances. I would guess that they're ready to move on with life, but they're met with their husbands who have just been through a significant amount of trauma.
You can say shit ton
of trauma, and they can't move on because until, as we've learned with Katie, until that trauma has been processed through, you're doomed, man. Mm-hmm. You just are. Like until you face the shit, you cannot move forward until certain discussions are had, until certain things are resolved, until certain things are understood. You're not going fucking anywhere. Mm-hmm. You're not. And so the point is that these women, they don't have enough of these resources. The men have all there are out there, and they're not taking advantage of it.
That's the problem, is we have all the resources, and we wait until it's like dire need.
Right, like you're about to kill yourself.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I hate to just bluntly say that, but that's what's happening. Is these dudes are, it's like too much. The world is too much. And I mean, this, like the freaking book that I'm reading, The Body Keeps the Score, a great book about trauma. Just so you know, you don't have to be in war or combat to experience PTSD. That's, you could be in any situation to experience PTSD. It's kind of up to you. Like no one can tell you what is traumatic to you. But these guys are coming home and they just don't know what to do with themselves. Like, you know, it's kind of like the real world is not what they're used to. And so they're struggling and they're not using the resources. They don't have a community of dudes that are in a healthy place. Mm-hmm. I mean, like if I were talking to you as my husband and I saw that you were struggling with something, or we were struggling as a married couple, I would pray to God that you would not reach out to one of those team guys that was still in that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. To me, that would be wrong. To me, that would be the wrong turn.
Yeah, that's like a drug user going to another drug user to, hey, buddy, can you help me get off drugs?
Yeah, it's like you got, like, the resources are there. It's just no one's fucking talking about it. And no one can say, hey, man, like, is this normal? Are you feeling this too? Mm-hmm. You know? And so, like, and then you guys are bringing it home. And then these wives don't know how to deal with it. They think that they can move on with life, but they can't move on with life because what are they doing? They're now still focused on their husbands. They're still focused on their husbands, making sure they're not going to overdose on pills, that they're not going to drink so much that they beat them or cuss them out or say something in front of the kids. They're making sure that they're not going to go take their gun and go off themselves. Mm-hmm. This is real shit, you guys. Mm-hmm. Like, this is what's happening is that women, again, not minimizing from the guys, but the women have this idea that they can just move on like normal whenever their husbands come home. Mm-hmm. And they can't because they're so hypersensitive to how you, are y'all okay? Are we on eggshells today? What's going to happen? Are you going to yell at this? Mm-hmm. Are you going to do this? Are you going to do that? And I'm not, again, please understand, like, I'm not taking away from that because you guys have been through.
No, I don't think you are at all.
So much trauma. It's just, it's the fact of the matter is that is what these women are doing. And I know this because I've had conversations with someone who is involved with 15 other women who are being vulnerable about the situations that they're in. Mm-hmm. These are women who have been with their husbands since high school, some of them. Mm-hmm. And they're in their 40s and they're still struggling.
Yeah. I mean, we struggle. We struggle. Yeah. We're definitely not the perfect couple that freaking gets it all right and doesn't have issues.
Which y'all know that by now.
Yeah, we should know that by now. Like I struggle on certain days about certain things. On most of them, I probably shouldn't. But yeah, it's a very serious thing. And there was a time where, you know, the pistol was in my hand to just end it all. But thankfully that didn't happen. But so, and I never understood the suicide thing until I was the victim, and that thought, you know, was processing in my brain. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I'm like, okay, I get it. I get it. How you can be this person or been through all this, and then this is the end of the road, or you think it's the end of the road, and thank God that wasn't the end of my story. But I do understand it. I do understand it. I really do understand it. And it's a scary beast, man.
It's heartbreaking
a scary
because
beast.
From what I understand and just from what I've listened to recently, like a lot of these guys have the biggest hearts. Like,
they're great guys.
You know what's crazy?
They're phenomenal guys. They're very selfless.
They pride themselves on loyalty, loyalty to their country.
Yeah.
But then in the same breath,
I know what you're saying.
They can be, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I think that these guys are like, when they finally come to that realization, they can't. And I'm just saying this. They hate themselves.
Yeah.
I think that they secretly hate themselves.
They're disgusted by themselves.
They're disgusted. And that's what the guy said in the last podcast I listened to. They were disgusted. Is that he was like, we pride ourselves on loyalty, and yet we are some of the most disloyal guys.
Hypocrite fools.
Yeah.
Guilty.
Yeah. And so it's like, okay, well, and you guys are bred to succeed and to win and to achieve. And when you're not getting it right at home, you take the brunt of that, and it's like you're failing. Mm-hmm. And so it's like you're looking for an out, and then you've got it. You just shoot yourself. It'll be fine. You know? Which
is obviously only going to make matters worse for the ones left behind. I heard, it was in a book. I can't remember what book it was. But they said if you ever feel like taking your life, just try to get a pin, which is so hard to do when you're like, I'm going to end myself. Why would I do this? But some of you know those thoughts. Like, it doesn't mean you're actually going to grab a gun or going to grab a bottle of pills or jump off a freaking bridge into shark-infested waters. But get a pad of paper and a pen.
I told you this.
Was it you that told me? Mm-hmm. I thought it was in a book. You did tell me. Yeah. It was in a book, but you told me. Yeah. And you write out the people that your loved ones
will be affected
and how they will be affected. And I was like, holy crap, that's genius.
Which, I mean, like, I feel like when you're in that moment, it's really hard to consciously be like, let me pull out this piece of paper right now. Like,
but the thoughts go to your head. Cause I remember when I was about to do mine, I thought about my kids.
Yeah.
I thought about them walking and seeing me in my bedroom floor with my brain splattered, blood splattered on the wall. I pictured it all. I had like a bird's eye view.
Someone's going to have to clean it up.
New carpet.
Someone's going to remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad. This is a topic that could go on for a long, long time.
Ever. Yeah.
What, and this is totally shocking this at you, what do you think that we do as a couple that helps not get us to those certain situations, or at least help us get through things?
Personally?
Yeah.
Just in our situation?
In our situation.
I think a lot of it is Christ.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
We always at least we really try to pray about things. You and I are more open. We're honest with each other. We're transparent. Personally, I don't know about you, but for me, what I've really started to do is I've started to listen to what other people have to say, mm-hmm. because all I know is your story. Mm-hmm. I am I'm embarrassed to say this, but I am blind to the big picture. I really am. And so I've been listening to,
Did you think it was just me?
No, I did. I guess, no, not at all. I mean, that would be very naive of me to say that. No, I did not think it was just you. I just did not know the severity. And how similar you're all the same. They literally molded you all to be the exact same. And I just know that, I literally listened to probably 3 guys' stories in the past week and a half. And it's all the exact same. And so for me personally, in our situation, what it does is when we have certain communication issues or whenever something happens, and again, I don't want this to always, this isn't this is always an excuse, because the things that you've been through, it's not always excusable. At some point, you can't use that as a card anymore. At some point, you got to move forward from that, and you got to change and be better. But for me, learning those things and hearing them from other people, it helps me to have a little bit more grace in certain situations and kind of like know a little bit more about where you're coming from. Like, just because you're my husband and you tell me your story doesn't necessarily mean I can totally grasp it. I grasp it, but like, and I think I thought I had it. And then I listened to this and I'm like, holy shit, man. Like, holy shit. To
What? Getting choked up?
Sorry.
No, don't. You don't need to apologize for that. No, it is sad. I feel for my teammates. I feel for the spouses. I feel for you because I know that I know that I'm not the easiest guy to deal with. I know I am oddly different. But I do want to say this. Like, I know we're talking about the SEALs just because that's our world. That's where we came from, and that's what we're kind of immersed in. But there's veterans from every branch of the service or other people. I guess the one thing I've learned is you can't blow them off. If they have the courage, and this is probably the biggest step. I always say this all the time. It's like you're responsible for the first step. You're responsible for the first step. If somebody comes to you or you even get like an inkling of something that like they need help, I beg you to help them and even if you don't know who it is, point them in the right direction. I've put this out a couple times in a couple videos, a website, eddiepenney.com. In the Den, in general discussion, there's a place, you don't have to pay for it, where veterans can reach out especially that are transitioning, because that is a very scary time because it's the unknown. It's fear and it can be consuming. If at minimum, point them there and I will help. I will personally help them, get them to the right place that they need to go, because this stuff it's so serious. And you're like, well, the veterans that we signed up for it, you're damn right we did. We would do it again. But it's affecting the children that did not sign up for it. It's affecting their wives that did not sign up for it. Well, in a sense they did, but it's affecting those children. And we have another generation coming up, and we have got to do the right thing. We just got off a couple decade war. We got some shit we got to deal with. And it takes a village. It really does. I mean, it does.
The whole point of this is I wanted to become more involved in helping like the spouses.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. When I found out that there was not a whole lot out there for them, I mean, I was just shocked. So, and again, like a lot of people are like, what the hell do they have to worry about? Well, I have a list. And this is coming from my contact.
Sounds so like CIA-ish, your contact.
Secret contact. No one can know who it is. So there's been like about 15 women who are like going through a process right now. Either their husbands are about to retire or they will be within like the next year type situation, or they have, and they're like kind of new to all of this. There were kind of questions asked, like, what are the top things that these women are kind of like worried about, right? And so things that they need help with. Number one,
I feel like this is gonna be scary.
Well, number one, all of them pretty much said that they appreciate that they aren't the only ones going through this. So they want to normalize the struggle. It's not fucking easy. I mean, it's just not. Like, there's no way around it at all. Like, when you're dealing with that situation, I mean, there's just no way around it. So normalizing that the struggle is there. The second thing is that, you know, once they like come out of retirement or whatever, or they're retired, they move, right? They move to like a different state or they move away. And so these women who have kind of formed this sense of community in the best way they can while their husbands are deploying, now they start spreading out and they lose that sense of community. Now they feel like they're stranded on an island alone again.
Yeah.
Even more alone than they were before. They were alone before. I mean, they had like their couple of girlfriends that they would kind of like, you know, go back and forth with, but then they're moving to different states and you disperse and then you lose
your support
that.
system's gone.
Your system is gone. You can have the phone calls, but we all know that's not the same. And then, like I mentioned before, these women are wanting to kind of when their husbands come home, they want to turn the focus on themselves. They want to be able to go out and do their career, do their dream job. They think that it's their turn. Like, okay, well, I stayed back for him for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever it may be. And so now it's my turn, but that never happens because the wives are still so hypersensitive as to what's going on with their husbands because their husbands have so much shit that they have to go through that they don't have the opportunity to go do what they wanted to do. So it's like this lie. It's like this dream that gets crushed. And so that's number 3. The last one is that husbands are raging and the wife is used as a shield against the kids or between the kids. And there's a lot of hate because...
So like the mom's kind of like the buffer between dad and
the mom is
kids.
The buffer. So the mom is taking the hits, not physically. Well, I'm sure some are physically, but these guys are in a state of rage. A lot of them are just losing their shit over what might be nothing because they are dysregulated. They don't know how to regulate their emotions. Their cortisol levels are crazy.
Yeah, the emotional piece is a new realm. It's something that we're not used to dealing with.
Yeah. Oh, I was reading
at all.
In that Body Keeps the Score book. There's an example. They use a lot of Vietnam vets as examples because they really didn't have the resources. They just came back and we were pretty much like, fuck y'all guys, pretty much, right? And they just had to figure it out, which I don't think many of them really ever figured it out. But this one guy, he had to he would remove himself from his own home and check into a hotel room to get away from his family, not because he wanted to be, but because he didn't trust himself.
Wow.
He didn't trust himself to.
Is that like on a specific day, certain time of year, or like...
They used July 4th as one of the examples because he couldn't handle the fireworks and the noises and the crowds. He couldn't handle that. But no, every time that he would get in like a rage, he would have to leave the house.
Wow. Because
if he didn't, he would be physically abusive. He would pick up the bottle. He would do something crazy. And they had kids in the house. And so just like this example, that was that wife in that example. She was the buffer. She was taking all the hits and she was trying to protect the kids and she was the shield. And, yeah, so that's kind of like where I'm kind of moving towards is like, whatever I can do to help those women because I am now kind of just like, okay, holy shit, like someone's got to do it.
I admire that about you, how you're passionate about it. I really am, because I know now the severity of it, and I know now that my fellow teammates are very hard-headed, and I hate that for them, and I want to kind of pin them up against the wall and kind of slap some sense into them, like I wish I had done to me, before. But I admire that you're doing that. It just kind of tells you about your heart and how genuine you are.
Well, it's just like the purpose of life, like. Like we're meant to become one under God. We're meant to, have children and raise them the right way. And there's so many things that are prohibiting that from happening. And honestly, they're all fixable.
They are.
They're all fixable.
Yeah, I'd say probably 99% of them is fixable.
And the purpose of life is not to live in this state of like depression or anger or fear or resentment or hatred or any of that. Like you're missing out on life.
I gotta tell a little story about you. When we were talking about it, it's like, well, I don't know how to help. What would I ever do? And I'm like, and every situation is going to be different for sure. But this is a perfect example. You got a text or a message on Instagram from a wife of a team guy. Never met this person, never heard from them. There was something about that message, it just prompted you to do something. So you told me, and you're like, do you know this person? Do you know this is her husband? And I had no clue because I've been out for a little bit.
Yeah.
And you're like, it really sounds like they need some help, some guidance. So I reached out to a friend that I knew had connections, that could do certain things. That friend reached out to them because we had their information and got them, and this is through the transitioning process of getting chills right now because it's so awesome, and got them set up with a new home for the new move. And on the move, they got them hooked up with a new job and like great things. And they're like, who knows what would have happened if maybe that didn't happen, but you were prompted by being obedient, I mean, from God, plain and simple, to follow up on that. And like, that's awesome. That's how it's done. She didn't go do something or like, it was just like, you just felt your heart leading you to do this. And that's what you did. And you were obedient and boom, could have just saved a marriage. We don't know, but they're good to go. Like, I mean, they're still gonna have struggles, of course, but way better now that they've got like their next move, like the next chapter started. They're like, I think they went out there this month, didn't they?
Yeah.
Or last month or something like that?
Yeah.
Are you still keep in contact with them?
I do. I mean, they're like thriving. Like
it's awesome. Like that is
kids
awesome.
Are happy. She's happy. She like will reach out to me and she's just like, thank God. Like, and that's what she keeps saying. Thank God.
So there's a flip side to this. As bad as all this is, and it is bad, it's crappy, is one little text or one phone call or passing of information could be life-changing. And that's exactly what happened. Now there's other examples that aren't so great, but if you do something, if you act upon something, chances are you could be saving a family's life. And that's beautiful. And that's what we should be. If anything, please take that away. It's like, if you hear something or whatever and you're prompted to do something, please do it. Please do it. Please do it.
Because a lot of these people aren't going to ask.
No, they ain't going to ask, especially the SEAL community.
I mean, that was the wife that asked.
Of course, because
she
dude ain't going to ask. Dude ain't going to ask. Yeah. I've been saying that for forever. It's usually when you only get to the bottom of the barrel that you're like, crap, I need to do something about this.
And then sometimes that's too late.
You're right.
So anyway, we just wanted to kind of like throw that out there. This is kind of what we're doing, and what I hope becomes kind of like, bigger than what we have pictured. I hope it becomes a huge thing.
Good movement.
Because that community needs it. And yeah.
Close this
out? You do it. You
okay.
On the spot.
Emotions are running high in here. Hope you guys like the message, or what we talked about, because it is a very serious situation. If you have loved ones that are in it, or you're close to it, then you know exactly what we're talking about. But just help where you can if you're prompted. So we will see you guys next time. See ya.
Bye.